Hello and welcome to Tinnitus Matters, the podcast where we discuss all things related to tinnitus. My name's Phil Holmes.
And I'm Christine Nixon. And today we are very lucky to have a special guest of Mr. John Lendiak, who is actually a patient at Lancashire Teaching Hospitals, NHS Trust, and who experiences tinnitus and has done for some time. John, thanks so much for coming today
Thank
to
you
You're
very
welcome.
We
talk
really
to us.
appreciate
Yeah,
it.
you're welcome.
I think we should dive straight in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about when you first noticed tinnitus and what the experience was like for you at that time?
Well, to be honest with you, you don't actually notice it straight away.
Right.
How it first started, it was just like a small singing in the back. And I think I've had it for about 20 years or something like that, but I never took any notice to it.
Right.
So,
Is that because you were busy, John, and
probably
with
busy,
life?
yeah. Always being active and everything.
Mm.
But like when he was lying in bed or waking up first thing in the morning, it was just like a slight singing.
And was that in one ear or both?
No, it's just in the one ear,
Oh,
in the
okay.
right side. Fortunately, I've only got it in one side, which is my right ear.
Mm. So when you did recognise you had this, did you go to your GP? Or?
I did go to my GP
Mm.
because, like, I was getting a bit hard at hearing, and also the tinnitus, which I didn't know at that time it was that. I started to get whooshing sounds
Right.
coming and going, whoosh like a washing machine type thing. So that's when I went to the doctors, and then I got a referral
Mm.
to the hospital.
Would you have described that whooshing sound like a pulse sound?
No, a high pitched sound.
A high pitched
It's
sound.
a high pitched sound. It's a bit difficult to describe, but it's like a singing,
Mm.
a high pitched singer,
Right. Okay.
and also like a bit of whistling in the background as
So
well.
multiple tones, really, isn't it?
It can be, yeah.
So they referred you in. Your GP referred you into ENT, did he? Yeah.
Correct.
From there, what happened?
Well, but obviously, like, I did all the hearing tests and everything, and I was at that time slightly going deaf in the right ear, and obviously, over the years, it's gone worse, which I now wear an hearing aid.
So in terms of the tinnitus, is there any certain times of the day where it seems to be louder or overwhelming, or does it stop you from doing things, social situations, or sleep?
Yeah, no, it doesn't bother me when I'm sleeping, no, because you're out of it and you can't hear it. Right.
But what about drifting off to sleep?
It's to be honest with you, I've learned to live with it,
Right.
which I'm getting to, and it's also if you get depressed or you had a bad day or you like lose interest in things, then that seems to kick in.
And what would you do at that point?
Well, then I'll start. What I do is like go in a quiet in my bedroom, lie down, use a tape from which I got from Christine, and listen to that, which is breathing exercises.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, it's on for about an hour, but I only managed to listen to half an hour because I've gone to sleep by
That's
then.
good. Then it's working.
Yeah, it is.
It's working.
Yeah.
If I go into the second part, it takes a bit longer.
Ah, okay.
So I've got to then rebreathe. I'm not getting calm enough in the first half an hour.
So that means you're really stressed that day. for
Sorry, that's what I
instance.
meant to say. If you ever get stressed,
Yeah.
that what
Okay.
kicks it in. And when it does kick in, it comes with vengeance.
Just rewind. So
Yeah.
you said your hearing's got worse over time, so
Yeah.
then you had to get a hearing aid. As that happened, did your tinnitus get worse
The
with it
tinnitus
louder?
got worse, yes.
Yeah. And
So I thought then it was it's also masking my hearing.
I see, like an obstacle further.
Yes.
So when we gave you the hearing aid, didn't we? And you found that effective.
Yes.
completely or to a point?
Not. I think the first one you gave me, Christine, was it a sonic type thing, a
Yeah.
buzzer?
Yeah, like a what we used to call retrainer, where it presents sounds to you,
That's
doesn't
it.
it? Yeah.
Was to take that whooshing and
Mm,
whistling away from me
mm,
ear, and it did work for a while. But then again, you see your situations change
mm,
in your body, in your mind.
mm,
So then you always end up going back to the breathing and meditation.
mm, mm. So, where you are today with it, would you say that you do live with it quite well and you cope with it, or are you still
Yeah,
having?
yeah, yes, I do. The more, because what it is really is because I understand it better.
I see. So, knowledge has been
Knowledge is a
important.
big key thing. You've got to learn to live with it. I
Mm.
know it's not easy, but you just learn to live, and you have to, and don't let it overrule you.
Have
Mm.
you found any support groups, or is there anywhere that you found online, or is there any? Have you got friends?
Christine Nixon.
Very kind, John. Thank you.
Well, and
She's been a great help to me.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Mm.
you know.
I think, like John said, though, you've got to be willing to understand and learn
yes,
and want to help yourself as well. And
Correct.
it's been a journey, hasn't it,
It
John,
is. Yeah,
of
yeah.
trial and error and perseverance. And each day can be different. And
Every day is different. Yeah,
it's knowing with your tinnitus what you need on what day and how. And then what comes to play as well is stresses in life, unexpected stresses,
correct.
traumas,
Yeah,
and then that can set you back further, can't it? As
yeah,
you know, we've known, and it's then building up against some resistance and putting the tinnitus back in like a smaller box,
yeah.
which you've been really good at. But we've adjusted your hearing aids over time as well,
Correct.
which is always important with tinnitus to keep on top of the hearing
so when you say
element.
you've adjusted them, this may be more of a question for Christine, John.
Right,
So,
right. Go on.
but I'm learning so much about this through
Mm.
this podcast series as well. So, what was the difference between John's first hearing aid that
Mm.
you mentioned to where he is now, and what's he got now?
So initially, John didn't really have a great hearing loss at all.
Right.
So he had we did give him a very mild hearing aid, but on there we also put what we call a program on it that presented sounds to him to help him distract away from the tinnitus.
And did that work, John?
It did. Yes.
More than the hearing aid actually at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Isn't that a thing?
Yeah, it's fascinating.
And did you get multiple sounds? Was there like waves on there, and was there
Well, I could
rain or?
put on what I wanted. There was different tones,
Yeah,
weren't there?
we presented them to you, and you said, no, don't like that one. That
That's
reminds me
it.
of my tinnitus, or that one's good. And then we'd look at volume. And then over time, John might go, this isn't working for me anymore, Christine. So we'd look at a different program
Correct.
that he
yeah.
might not have previously liked, but as his hearing dropped over time gradually, the sound he needed would change.
Yes.
But along with that, the hearing aid started to come to play more for John, to be more beneficial for
Yeah.
him, for his tinnitus. So then it became like a 50-50 of using sounds to help him,
Correct. Yeah.
using his hearing aid to help him.
So, which one of the sounds did you find at
I think
that
it was
point?
the humming one.
Right.
I like the humming one. There was one what hummed, which was like a constant. If I forgot the bleeping one didn't work.
It was more aggravating, wasn't it?
Yeah. So if
John.
I don't know if you call it straight line. Zzz,
Like a monotone.
yeah.
I think with in John's situation case, what's been good is he's also used his own sounds away from a hearing device. Like he's mentioned the breathing exercises. I know you've discussed how you've just sometimes come in from work, closed the door, gone
That's
into
it,
your room, shut the door, put his sounds on, and brought himself down, and it brought the tinnitus right down. And he's
And is
fantastic
that big?
at that.
Again, I'm trying to understand. I'm a tinnitus sufferer as well, so I love
right.
speaking to people about it
Yeah.
to kind of help me and learn and about different, because everybody's experience is different.
It is.
So when you say the breathing exercise sounds help, is that the sound of what you're listening to helps, or is it the fact that you're breathing and you start to calm down helps?
Yes,
the tinnitus?
that is correct.
So it's
Yeah.
not the sound of
It's
the
not
actual...
the sound, no, because
Right.
it's only a lady what's speaking, isn't it?
Yeah.
And she's telling you what to do.
Right.
And what she, I can't just remember everything on it, like, but what she actually does is bring you down as well.
I
Like the
think, though,
opening,
John, remember the association of her voice you said. So is the association of I am now relaxing, I've put the lady on
that's correct.
with the
Yeah.
breathing. So John's developed an association.
Yeah.
That's incredible, isn't it? And
Mm.
I know in earlier episodes of the podcast series, we've talked about the psychology of tinnitus and the science of tinnitus, and how we kind of center on a certain sound, but also that association.
Yeah, and that's a
And
positive association.
and that I was going to say that is a
Yeah.
positive association where you are thinking of that voice in that manner, in that place, associated with calming down, chilling out,
Yeah.
relaxing, and once you get out of that stressed state, the tinnitus becomes
Less.
quieter
Yes.
or less or
Yeah.
more manageable, etc. That really is fascinating that it's not the sound, it's the action.
The words of what she's saying to you, you know, and she actually does bring you down. When she says, take a deep breath in, and then she says, take a breath from your stomach, bring it up to your chest. So you're doing all that. So your mind's away.
So it's like
from you.
mindfulness as well, because
Yeah.
all you're focusing on at that point is breathing.
Correct.
So it's the
yeah.
breathing, the mindfulness. And I have to keep saying, John has really helped himself here. A lot of it is self-help, persistence,
Yes.
and patience.
Making the time to understand it.
Yeah.
Knowledge, we go back to that idea that knowledge is power, isn't
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And things don't work overnight.
No.
You know, you have
no.
to practice, don't you, John?
And I know it doesn't always work straight away, but then I don't. I don't fuss over it type thing. Right,
Yeah.
tomorrow's another day. I'll try again tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what I do.
Yeah.
You know,
You're having a bad day, get an early night. Tomorrow's a new day.
That's it. Yeah.
Easier said than done at times, but where you can,
Yes.
it's helpful.
So, well, here's a question then, John.
Mhm.
What advice would you give to somebody who has just been diagnosed with tinnitus or is struggling with it?
Well, it is to learn to start off is what is how bad it is to them.
Yeah.
And how it affects them. Is they'll just have to find something what can help them.
So do you think having information straight
more
away?
information, the more knowledge?
Yes, the more information you give them.
Research it. You know, go on YouTube and see what other people
Or listen to our podcast.
listen to this podcast.
Because can I just say there,
Yeah.
sorry, John, there is some information online though that is quite negative, isn't it?
Very much so.
And
Yeah.
very wrong information.
Very wrong. Yeah.
So we always do recommend that you go to registered information,
Yeah.
charity website, so forth, and everything on the podcast as well is.
Are there any recommended charities that you as a practitioner in the NHS
Yeah.
recommend people to?
So there is tinnitus.org.uk, which is a registered charity for tinnitus, which is fantastic. And also what was the RNID? That is also a hearing website which focuses on tinnitus as well. And we do like to use those sites. And like John said, there are a vast array of information on there for the patient. And if you can, equip yourself with the tools they give you on the information, or go to your local audiology department and speak to a tinnitus specialist, or listen to information like this on a podcast that's all validated, it just calms you a little bit more on understanding what it is, and then gives you a more positive approach and outlook, because there's lack of resource out there at times and information. So if people could be channeled to the correct, that's the key.
Excellent.
And that's where John was good, because you seeked help, didn't you?
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
And it seems from talking to you that you understand your tinnitus, but you're willing to try. So you'll try the breathing techniques, you'll try the sounds, you'll try the hearing aids, and you're happily and willfully guided by Christine, obviously, as your tinnitus specialist as well within the NHS.
And I'm
which is
sure John
great.
doesn't mind me saying, but I know at one point a few years ago when, at one of the appointments, I said, look, you really need to try the hearing aid now, John.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, I'm not sure, a bit
Correct.
self-aware.
I've been there.
Yeah, and gave it him. He went, yeah, why was I concerned about wearing it out and about
Yeah.
when I get the benefits from it? So he'd had it, but was afraid to wear it out and about. And then he realised actually the benefits outweighed. And that, again, it's a journey, but it's John's
Take one
persistence.
step at a time, really.
Yeah.
That's it, one
good
step
advice.
at a time.
Excellent.
John, thank you so much.
Right,
We
no
really
worries.
appreciate
Today.
you joining the podcast
Okay,
for
That's
us.
Yeah.
been absolutely brilliant, hasn't it? And really insightful from the patient's
It's always good,
perspective.
as a tinnitus sufferer myself, as I keep saying, it's always good to speak to other people about it and hear other people's experience with this and how we can kind of move forward with it and live with it. So I really appreciate you coming
No
in. Thank you
worries,
very
yeah.
much indeed.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, John.
Cheers.